Hey y'all, and welcome back to the channel, or if it is your first time here, welcome especially. I'm Sally, and today I am joined by a very special guest. This is my husband, Samuel. He's gonna give y'all a break from me and take the camera in just a little bit. He's gonna share with you a day of eating, kind of from his perspective, what he eats in a day, because y'all have been asking repeatedly for me to share a video on pro-metabolic men's health. And I thought the best way to approach this would be simply to hand the camera to Samuel, give you his perspective. And he's gonna be talking also about his macros, kind of his nutrient needs, and why he makes certain choices throughout the day. But before we dive into it, we want to answer some questions that y'all asked on kind of a question box that I shared earlier on in the week, specifically about a men's perspective or male approach to pro-metabolic lifestyle. Before we do that though, would you share just a tiny bit about just like your, I guess, what you do for a living and how active you are is the biggest thing?
Yeah. So we own, I guess, really, a video production company. I'm a freelance videographer, director of photography. So we do end-to-end video production, but it's a lot of shooting as well on other people's projects. So that's pretty active. Like set days are standard 10 hours. And then if you're, doing setup and tear down prior, then they're longer. And then in addition to that, I have always been and am very, very active. I've been lifting pretty consistently for almost 9 years now. And I probably don't do enough cardio, but pretty active. And I mean, I do cardio on top of that. So yeah. My maintenance calories are depending on how many steps I get in a day. Like if I'm doing a 10,000 step day plus cardio and lifting, I will burn 3,700 calories, and that's maintenance for me. So
yeah, and right now y'all should know that we are doing a cut right now, so we are in a little bit of a deficit, which I've talked about earlier on in the channel, or in earlier videos on the channel. So Samuel's gonna be eating. What are you eating at right now?
I'm like 2,600, and to be clear, I'm not doing as much activity as I would get at a 3,700 calorie day. That's more gonna be like during the summer when the days are longer.
Yeah, you're outside more.
I would say my maintenance is probably 3,100-ish. So it's 31, 32. So it's like a fairly decent deficit, but it's not huge.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. And I think that ties into a question that I've seen a lot of, both when it comes to men and women, but like, how do you go about determining your TDEE, we'll say, or your caloric needs? Yeah,
so, well, it starts with TDEE, which is total daily energy expenditure. And some people say one of the E's stands for estimated, I don't know. But basically, you can go online and there are a few different calculators and they all use various formulas, and you essentially put in your activity level. You put in, some of them ask you how many times you exercise per week. Some of them may ask about body fat percentage, etc. That's not necessarily critical. But essentially it will put out a number that generally speaking fits. And if it's your first time doing that kind of thing, there's a little bit of trial and error because everybody's different. And so you kind of have to eat that many calories, track your weight for a couple weeks, see if it goes up or down, or if it stays the same, then you've, accurately assessed your maintenance calories. So
yeah, absolutely. So I know that like tracking weight can be not the best for some people, and I totally understand that. But if you really are trying to figure out what your maintenance calories should be, there's really no better way to do it than just trying to like detach any value from the scale and just like treat it as an experiment and, start out, calculate that number, see how it goes for a little bit. Otherwise, it just becomes a guessing game. And so that ties into this question that Emily asked. She said that her husband works a physical job and it's been hard to gauge what he needs to thrive. And then he's dealing with some hair thinning, and they're trying to use the pro-metabolic approach to boost normal regeneration, thinking that, it's probably tied to mineral imbalance and metabolic dysfunction, which I think is really insightful. And just, what Samuel said ties into the first part of that question is there is trial and error involved, but we'll link a good TDEE calculator below and really encourage him to check that out. And then also the protein piece is going to come into play as well. So the biggest question, like most seen question I've gotten, is how does a pro-metabolic approach differ for males and females. You want to start us off on that?
Yeah, it's mostly the same. The same principles apply, and I think it's easy to overcomplicate any aspect of this because they are actually all pretty simple, which is what makes it easy to overcomplicate. So generally speaking, Sally and I eat the same foods. We eat pretty much all the same things. We just eat different amounts of them. I am bigger and I am an active male, whereas she's an active female. So there's a big lean mass discrepancy between the two of us. So I need to eat more protein. I am both taller and have more mass than Sally. So I eat more protein, and relative to the amount of calories I'm eating, like as a percentage, I probably get fewer calories from fat. Just I think that comes with being a dude, not needing or wanting as much. Although I think gram for gram, I probably eat more. But as a percentage of my calories, it's less. So.
Yeah, and that ties into like reproductive health and, you know, hormone needs, but I would say just don't fixate on that. For me, it's always been the kind of thing where naturally I have craved more fat in my diet than Samuel has. But with that piece, I would say just prioritize protein, make sure you're balancing your protein, your carbs, and a little bit of fat at each meal. But if you prioritize protein, it will probably come rather naturally to you, like how much your body likes, again, within that trial and error period. So I guess takeaway from that is it's pretty much the same. It's just that he's eating more than me. He's bigger than me. And because he has more lean mass, he needs more protein. And that's going to be the case with any man compared to any woman. Even if a woman is in like tip-top shape, she's an athlete, she's still going to have more weight than a man kind of at that equivalent, we'll say, you know, level of athleticism because of how, you know, our bodies are made. Like women have an extra layer of fat that dudes just don't have less weight.
You said it backwards.
What do you mean? What do you mean I said that?
You said that an athletic woman will have more weight.
Oh, an athletic woman is going to have more body fat compared to a dude who's like at that same level. Mm-hmm. A women's body fat percentages are always going to be higher than men's. They need to be in order for us to be
For context, healthy. Like a man who's in really great shape athletically might be 10 or 11% body fat, whereas a woman in comparable shape might be at like 20, like 18 to 22.
Yeah, and like I told y'all in our initial shred video, like I'm trying to get leaner, but I'm not comfortable going below about 21% because that's when you start to see potential issues with fertility when it just doesn't apply at that level for men. It's a much lower.
We stay fertile.
We stay. Okay, so next question also ties into the differences. Tatiana asked, what are some good supplements for men? Do men and women need the same supplements? And so what I would first say to this is I don't tend to start by recommending supplements. I am not a multivitamin person. I think that those can often do more harm than good. I would say just one supplement consistently, and that's magnesium. I take magnesium glycinate. Samuel does it too. Sometimes he's not the best at remembering, so I just give it to him. But I, you know, obviously talk to your provider, but I think that magnesium can benefit just about everyone because we don't get enough of it from the soil. I will also sometimes take vitamin E to help with progesterone production and just PUFA, balancing that out. We both eat liver every week, but when it comes to...
I eat more of it.
He eats... Yeah, okay, flex. But when it comes to nutrient needs, men and women need the same nutrients, same vitamins and minerals. Men, for some of those nutrients, are going to need a higher quantity, again, relative to their larger size. And so if you're just prioritizing a whole foods diet and, you know, essentially subscribing to all of the other pro-metabolic principles that we talk about on this channel and in the resources that I share, and you're eating enough, I would say that most likely you're going to be good.
All right, folks, good morning. It is the next day, and presumably you just watched me make breakfast. Before I eat anything on a given day, I will have a glass or two of water, depending on how thirsty I'm feeling. I had a heart problem in high school, and one of the things that the cardiologist said is that people don't drink water first thing in the morning, and they really should, to get your blood volume up so that your heart doesn't have to work so hard to move thick, dehydrated blood around your body. So I started doing that then, and I've done it every day since, and it's great, and you should do it too. And then I have to admit, I do start my coffee before I eat, but I am less than halfway done with this cup of coffee. So I'll usually pour it, start sipping on it, just because I like that. I don't always eat before I put coffee into my body, but it's like been 10 minutes since I poured this, and it's less than halfway gone. So I think we're okay. We've got a pretty big breakfast here, which is fairly typical for me. About 650 calories here, and I would say that's pretty standard. But before I get into specifically what's in here, I want to talk about what I'm eating on a day-to-day basis, because it does vary day-to-day. What doesn't vary so much is the nutrients. So I'll eat pretty much whatever I want, as long as it fits the nutrient profile that I'm looking for. And right now I'm doing 2,500 calories a day, which is a deficit, to be clear. And that consists of 195 grams of protein, which is about 1 gram per pound for me right now, 250 grams of carbs, and 80 grams of fat. And I will kind of move the carbs and fat as needed to hit the 2,500 calories. The protein stays fixed, but like if I want on a particular day to have, I don't know, something very carby, then I'll eat more carbs, maybe 275, and I'll drop the fat down to maybe 70 instead of 80. In this meal, we have 677 calories, 2 eggs, some kale. We've got 4 slices of turkey bacon here. This is the Columbus turkey bacon, and this stuff is goated. We get it at Costco. I don't know where else you can get it, but it's really, really good. And then I have 80 grams. That was the uncooked weight of oats. It says Quaker here, but it's not. It's just oatmeal, but oatmeal is pretty much the same across the board. And then I just tracked a little bit of butter because I used a little bit to cook up the kale and the eggs to keep things from sticking quite so much. Okay, breakfast has been conquered. I forgot to show this or get it before, but I'm a spice fiend, so I use this stuff like ketchup, and when I eat eggs for breakfast, they are liberally doused in it. After breakfast, typically what I'll do is sit, chill for a few minutes, let the food settle. I'll read my Bible or read the news, and then after a few minutes, I like to go outside and either go for a walk or a bike ride or something like that, just to kind of get my body moving, because with the work that I do, I'm either on my feet all day if it's a shoot day, or I'm on my butt all day if it's an editing day. And today is an editing day, so I like to just kind of move a little bit in the morning before I sit down to work. It's a little later in the day than I would typically prefer to get started, but I try not to use an alarm if I don't need to, and I didn't need to today, and I guess my body needed the extra sleep. So I'm going to sit here for a few minutes and let my food settle, and then go for a quick walk. And then when I get back, I'll get to work. Probably have another cup of coffee, we'll see. And I might have some fruit or something like that while I'm sitting and editing. Oh, these things. Magnesium. I don't always remember to take these. And I'll talk about this a little bit more later because some people had asked, but because I'm recording today, I have to make sure that I take these for the camera. So. Okay, so we are back from walking. Walked for, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes or so. And I know I said I might have a piece of fruit or another cup of coffee when I got back, and I just don't want that, so I'm not going to. So now I'm going to get a little bit of editing work done, I will eat lunch and probably another snack before we go to the gym around 3 this afternoon. I am hitting legs today, which is an interesting game to play with the food because it means that I want to put a little bit more into my system before training because it's demanding. But also, I don't want to have too much volume because, barfing reasons. Anyway, where I am at currently is, like I said, just with breakfast. So 48 grams of protein, 57 grams of carbohydrates, and 28 grams of fat. And I do tend to do a little bit higher fat in the morning, relatively little throughout the day, and then I finish everything off in the evening. And I just like to eat a little bit more fat earlier in the day because it keeps me full, which is probably why I don't want fruit or a cup of coffee right now. So I'm gonna get a glass of water and go edit, and I'll check in with you guys at lunchtime. Okay, well, it is lunchtime for me now. Sorry about the terrible lighting. I'm in the editing room, which has blackout curtains and normally is pitch black. But I just finished working on some video stuff here, and I'm gonna take a little bit of a break and eat lunch. What I have here is one of the packaged meals that I think Sally has showed on the channel before. This is pork loin with sweet potatoes and kale. There's nothing magic about that. It just works well, and we're eating prepped meals several times a week right now because it's easier with what we're currently trying to do and our goals. It's easier to just prep things in bulk, buy them in bulk, prep them in bulk, and then package them up and eat them like this. So with this meal, I'm at a little over 1,200 calories, just under 100 grams of protein for the day, just over 100 grams of carbs for the day, and right about 50 grams of fat. And as with breakfast, there's a liberal dousing of sriracha sauce because I like my food spicy. There's no health benefit, I just like it. So real quick, before I eat this, I wanted to talk about the magnesium supplement that you saw me take with breakfast, and then this is coconut water, which is one of the key components of adrenal cocktails, which I don't typically mix them into a cocktail. I just like the coconut water on its own, but it's got a lot of potassium in it. And a question that Sally got asked on YouTube, she put out a poll asking people some questions. And one of the questions that she got from Paola the Bacon Jerky, question mark? I don't know. Says basically what everybody else has said, but also how does pro-metabolic eating affect my mood, my temper, if at all, generally health benefits noticed, if they're different from what Sally's noticed, etc. So starting with the first part about mood and temper. Temper is not really something that I feel like I struggle with very much, but I do have OCD. I've had it since I was a kid. It used to be really bad, and I think it would still be considered severe, but it's managed, I guess. So if we're talking about severity as far as like how much it impacts me on a day-to-day basis, it's pretty well managed, but if it weren't managed, it would be pretty bad. So I'm not on any medication right now. I'm not doing any therapy right now. And is that due to the pro-metabolic lifestyle? To a certain extent, maybe yes. I think I have noticed that keeping on track with my food, eating well, feeding my body, fueling my body, staying hydrated, those things make a really big difference as far as like my anxiety levels on the day-to-day. And I would say that with the magnesium supplementation, that I do notice a little bit of assistance, I suppose you could say. Just that I'm maybe a little bit more stable, a little bit less prone to feel anxious. I just feel a little bit more steady, I suppose. And when I travel or whatever, and we don't have access to the things that we're usually eating, or not the same access, I do notice a bit of a difference, but it's hard to say how much of that is due to things like whether or not I'm drinking things like coconut water, or if it's related to the travel. It's hard to say. But I would say that eating healthfully, eating mindfully, and staying hydrated and keeping track of your minerals and whatnot has made a difference for me in that respect. And as far as just general health benefits, I think we've pretty much experienced the same. I've eaten this way for most of my life, minus some of the more specific things like eating organ meats and whatnot. So I don't think that the health benefits are significantly different, but I would say that as far as like the mental health side of it and feeling positive, like healthy and in a decent mood on a day-to-day basis, definitely has been affected, at least to some extent, by focusing on hydration and focusing on proper mineral balance.
Snack time?
Yes. Pre-workout, it's 4:00 now. I am going to have a snack. I'm not going to have fruit like I said I might. Instead, I have in here about 20 grams of honey, basically just for sugar, and then this is whey protein. I mean, this is the most sophisticated whey shaker here. But anyway, doing that, it has protein, it has carbs, it has basically no fat, and that's because I want both of these things to absorb very quickly, and obviously pure sugar and whey protein absorb very quickly, so that will mean that it's pretty much already in my bloodstream by the time I'm actually working out, and that will stop me from starving while I'm at the gym.
You see, he's very strong. Gotta fuel the gains. Also, I feel like today is the story of Samuel saying he's gonna eat fruit and not doing it. No fruit.
Fair enough.
We're back from the gym and munching on some carrots, specifically for the insoluble fiber in carrots, which is really good at binding to excess estrogen in the body. And while as women, it makes sense, this isn't something we talk a lot about when it comes to men, but it can be beneficial for everybody because estrogen dominance, just given the world we live in and everything we're exposed to, is common across the board. And in men, this doesn't look, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to look like something as extreme as like a dude starts growing breasts, but rather it's going to throw off that hormonal balance and it's going to lead to potentially some of the symptoms that some of y'all have asked about. But getting just a teeny bit into the mechanism behind this and understanding that we are not experts. First of all, progesterone is actually really important in men when it comes to the production of sperm, and so it can affect fertility. And as we know, if your estrogen levels are too high, your progesterone levels are most likely going to be driven down. And then Samuel's going to talk about how progesterone is actually a necessary precursor to testosterone.
Yeah, so I'm not an expert on it either, but progesterone basically is a precursor to DHEA and testosterone and estrogen. You have to have a healthy balance of progesterone to estrogen in order to produce testosterone. And without testosterone, it's known as the male hormone. I know that Sally has said some people were commenting about people's husbands having issues with moodiness or even hair loss, and those things can be attributed to any number of different factors. Like hair loss can be a mineral imbalance or it can be low testosterone. A lot of the time when you have middle-aged guys that are dealing with a lot of moodiness, that is often a sign of low test or an imbalance in some respect. Even having your testosterone levels slightly off can cause men to present depressive symptoms, whether that be the kind of stereotypical depressive symptoms like lethargy, or less commonly, but still fairly common, men become moody and deal with irritability, and they have unstable tempers is very common. So any of those things can be caused by low test. Doesn't necessarily have to be low test, but it oftentimes is related.
Yeah, and this is another one of those areas where it all fits together. So as he said, hair loss, it could be a mineral imbalance, it could be a testosterone thing. And don't take this as diagnostic, obviously, but those things also are going to go together. If your hormone levels are not, properly balanced, most likely there is a mineral imbalance as well, just because they all feed back into each other. And when it comes to supporting your minerals, supporting your hormones as a whole, everything we talk about on this channel as a whole is going to apply to both men and women. It's going to have different expressions. And then working out too, we were thinking about that because we were just at the gym, is a great way to naturally support your testosterone levels, your hormone levels as a whole. You're gonna see in men especially those testosterone levels increase after a good weight training session.
Yeah, weight training releases both testosterone precursors and human growth hormone. So don't take steroids, instead go hit legs. Okay, we are about to eat dinner. We are eating 2 different things for dinner tonight, which is not the most normal for us, but like I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of food prepped on hand, so we're not actually making anything for dinner tonight. We're just eating what we have in the fridge. So I have chili. This was something that Sally made at the beginning of the week, and after coming back from the gym, I have about 1,000 calories that I need to eat this evening. So I have a little over a pound of chili here, with, again, the typical dousing of hot sauce on here. Habanero this time. All this is a huge bowl of chili. It actually doesn't finish me out for the evening because with lean meat and beans and whatnot, it's very voluminous, but there's not actually that many calories in it for the size. So I'm gonna eat this and then I'm gonna eat something else. I'm not honestly sure what. I've got a bunch of carbs that I need to eat this evening, so I will check back in the next time I eat something. All right, it is about an hour, maybe hour and a half later, and Sally and I have eaten dinner and we've been watching a show. We're watching House right now, which is an older show, but it's pretty good. So far, at least, we're in the first season. Anyway, I am now finishing out the evening with the last meal, if you want to call it that. It's more of a snack, but just to finish out the calories that I have remaining, which is basically just carbs and fat and then a little bit of protein. So this is what I'm eating as the last thing of the evening / before bed. We'll probably go to bed in maybe an hour or so. But I've got 4 slices of Dave's Killer Bread with peanut butter and then a navel orange. This is some special kind. It's pink. I don't know what it is, but it's good. And then over here, still in prep, I'm gonna have some mint tea and I mean, I don't know what crazy benefits mint tea has. It's good for you, obviously, but we are a big fan of like evening tea, so we're doing evening tea in the evening. But hopefully this has been helpful. This is what I eat on the day-to-day right now. And like I said before, it's pretty much what I would eat anyway. The only thing that's different now is the amount that I'm eating of each individual thing. But whole foods, fruits and vegetables. Sally was kidding me about not eating enough fruit today, so I normally eat like 2 or 3 apples every day, but the orange is my token fruit. So yeah, again, I hope it's been helpful, and you should subscribe to Sally because she's cool.